Hey guys, my guest tonight, Rory O'Neil Schmitt, is going to tell us the truth about voodoo. We'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope everybody's had a great week and everybody's happy to slide into the weekend. Well, we got a lot going on. You might be hearing in the background the Capital Air Show is here in town, and usually it happens the last long weekend of the summer, but they decided to go early this year. So California Capital Air Show. Thank you. So they're doing it this weekend, so it should be interesting. I'm going to be out shooting footage and stuff out there this weekend. Some of the planes. I love taking photos of military planes, but I'm real excited about it. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you have a paranormal need, we can get to you. It might take us a while because California is a huge state, but we will eventually, within a couple days, get you. And in the case that it takes us a while to get to you, we do have psychics on staff who can call you and talk with you about what may or may not be going on in your house or business. See where I'm at today. Must have been the banana. House or business. And in most cases, if it is something paranormal, they can calm it down for you. And it's going to be one of those days on the internet. You can tell a lot of people online right now. So everybody's, again, quick warning, everybody's on Xfinity in this neighborhood, so it is what it is. And all being, there we go again. That's twice the intro. It's going to be an exciting night, I can tell. That being said, if you're watching from Facebook, and a lot of you are tonight, please feel free to hit that follow button if you like what you see and hear. I'd really appreciate it. You know, we're always looking for followers. Also, during the show, come on into the chat room, chat amongst yourselves. I will pull questions and answer questions for you as much as I can with my guest today. And show us some love. Show us a thumbs up. Show us those happy heart things I can never do with my hands. You know, that kind of stuff. Just do that for us, and I really appreciate it. Same thing with YouTube. You know, we've got over 1,100 videos at YouTube. It's all of this show, all different topics. I'm a journalist, photojournalist. I like to vary topics, as you know. I mean, this week alone, we've done ghosts, we've done UFOs, UAPs, we've done vampires, we've done, you name it, we've done it. And tonight is no different. I'm going to be talking voodoo, okay? So I like to vary the topics. So check it out. Lots of stuff over there you can check out. Also, if you haven't subscribed, feel free to do that. Trying to reach those magic numbers for subscriptions. And again, show me some love, show me some thumbs up, things like that. Let me know. But what happens, see, when you do that, when you do the thumbs up thing and you leave a comments, what that does is it puts us up higher in the FYP, the main computers at these social media places see this. And they're all the same. TikTok's the only one you got to double tap the screen for likes and all that, but everywhere else works the same. But if you notice, when you scroll down Facebook, you get halfway down Facebook, and of course there's the bunch of reels sitting there, and then you go a little further down, and there's the stuff that they suggest for you. Okay, it might be, different pages. Well, that's called the For You page, and that's what that does. When you guys chat amongst yourselves in the chat room, you leave us all that stuff for everybody. I'm talking TikTok, you name it. That puts us on the For You page because the computers, the master computers notice the show because you're doing all that stuff, all that interaction. So I'd really appreciate if you would do that, okay? And share it. I mean, if you got somebody in the house in another room and you think might be interested in the show, hey, I got this little show that I watch. Come on over, check it out. Share it. Share. It's all about sharing. Okay, enough said about that. It's the weekend. It's 112 right now. Cooling down finally. We're finally coming down. But my guest tonight, I've had them on before. Rory O'Neil Schmitt, her mother's going to be with us as well. And they have together written some paranormal books, and one of them has to do with voodoo in New Orleans. And the first time I had her on, a year, maybe 2 years ago, well, we were talking about voodoo. So that's what we're going to start talking about tonight. But they've also got interest with the paranormal, so we're probably going to get into that tonight as well. Anyway, let me bring them on, and first let me wipe my face because it's hot, I'll tell you. My thing is, since the big tree in my backyard went down, this room is on that side of the house where the tree went down. So there's no tree back there to cool the house. So it's just getting slammed. Okay, let me call them in, and let's get this show on the road.
Hey.
Hello.
Greetings from New Orleans.
Yeah, greetings, everybody. How is New Orleans? Is it hot?
It's hot and wet.
Yeah, because
And every time they predict rain, it doesn't rain.
Right.
Sleepy town.
I grew up making trips to Ohio because that's where my dad was from.
Oh,
so
wow.
I know what the summers are like. How it gets. See, the problem out here is that it's dry. So it's like Arizona.
I know. I love
it's
Arizona.
It's really hot. I mean, it's enough to fry eggs, I think, right now. It gets hot. It gets hot. How are we this afternoon?
Great. Feeling really good. Yeah. Thanks so much for having us. We love seeing you. We love being part of it.
I love seeing you guys. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this. One of my friends on Facebook, let's see if I can say his name right because he's probably listening, Ricardo Pustanillo, I think his name is.
Okay.
Does a lot of paper mache stuff, and he's done stuff for a lot of stuff for Mardi Gras.
Wow.
Yes. I think that he did the
his paper mache statues of huh?
Oh, I said I think he did Marie Laveau.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Beautiful Marie Laveau. How did you guys get interested in doing anything with voodoo?
Mom, you want to go first? You want to?
Well, I mean, I think that living here in New Orleans, you always hear a lot about voodoo. It's a lot of creepy things about voodoo. People casting mainly negative curses on other people that may or may not come true. But we were pitching all different kind of books, but our publisher was really interested in voodoo because that was everyone wanted to know about it. And we didn't really know about it at all, but we said we'd be willing to study it as strangers coming in to try to find out what was going on. And we were thrilled about how much we found out. Yeah, we were really thrilled.
And I think
go ahead,
that was a big part of our mission, was to demystify and to present voodoo as truth and as a religion that is to be respected and not maligned. Because a lot of, even growing up in New Orleans, what we thought about voodoo, what it was, it really isn't. It's a lot more of a positive monotheistic religion that we really knew before we got started.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So where does voodoo come from exactly?
Rory?
Oh, sure. So but when we studied for this book, voodoo is a large kind of umbrella term. So it's, when we study, we wanted to focus just on New Orleans voodoo because there's Vodou in Haiti, there's Voodoo in West Africa, and there's hoodoo as well. And so what we studied and learned from New Orleans voodoo is that this religion, the spirituality, came from enslaved laborers from West Africa who were brought in through the Caribbean to New Orleans. And it also just was a blending of lots of different spiritualities, included Native American herbology practices, reverence for nature, and then it had Catholic influences too, where some of the saints, the African saints, were pictured as Catholic saints. So there's a lot of different mixing of religions, and it's really a personalized, individualized religion.
It's kind of like, as you describe it like that, it sounds kind of like Wicca in a lot of ways, where it's more natureified. How did it get, I'm not going to say the word twisted, but how did it start getting the sinister reputation that it did?
Well, bad films. A lot of bad films made voodoo people into stupid people, jokers, and creepy kind of characters who you think you'd see in a cartoon. And those films came out really in the 1930s and 40s, and it defaced voodoo completely. And then people did jokes like voodoo donuts and voodoo popcorn, and it became a desecration of the religion because voodoo really grew out of the wailing of Black women, out of tremendous loss, out of death of so many children at the cemeteries, out of really Black women, helping other people, trying different things, teas and prayers and all sorts of things to help when people were dying through
Mhm.
all kinds of serious. So it comes from a wailing deep inside people who are in agony, and it's a healing thing.
And I
Mhm.
think what we learned too is that all people were practicing voodoo and are practicing voodoo. And like I have a voodoo altar behind me to the
Mhm.
ancestors. But it was done in private because
Mhm.
there was so much discrimination and so much terror surrounding
Mhm.
it. And so we found that a lot of women, including Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen
Mhm.
of New Orleans, would do these beautiful prayer practices, visit the sick in prisons, help other people, help bury the dead. And it was when we studied it I interviewed an anthropologist from the University of New Orleans who's a scholar of Marie Laveau, and she
Mhm.
said that voodoo is all about personal empowerment. So you want a husband, voodoo. You want a divorce, voodoo. You want your pregnancy to come out negative, voodoo. Your pregnancy test. You want your pregnancy test to be positive, voodoo. So it's all about this kind of like empowerment for people, women, men, everyone to really have a sense of agency in a world where you feel like you're sometimes it's hard to find hope. And I think voodoo was the hope for, and still is the hope for a
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
people.
Well, when you talk about video, I know what people think is what they see in movies. How did it get so? How did it get? How did it go from that to end up getting so twisted in movies? Was it just a thing where somebody just took it around with it and just said, okay, let's just start adding this stuff to scare people?
Well,
Go ahead, Roy.
I was just going to say, we have a chapter of the book called Drama, Dance, Death. And
Mhm.
so, growing up Catholic in New Orleans, I was used to this certain kind of philosophy and dogma. And, sitting
Mhm.
in a really clean church with a handstand, not doing anything, standing when everyone stands sitting, really controlling my behavior. But then you go to a voodoo ritual ceremony, and it's very different than that. It's like so
Mhm.
freeing. Uh, People become possessed, by the spirit of saints of the departed. There are
Mhm.
sparklers, there's dance, there's so a priest assistant will use a machete or a sword and strike the sky to open the gates to invite the spirits in. And so
Mhm.
it's just a lot more physical and a lot more exciting. And even Marie Laveau, she would dance with a snake at Congo Square. And so, even some voodoo priests like Miriam Chobani, she has a snake, and that's part of it. And so, all I think you're not used to seeing that kind of spirituality,
Mhm.
it's exciting and mystifying. And I wonder if film was drawn to that and they just made changes because it's entertainment and it wasn't a
And ran
documentary.
with it, yeah.
You know?
I was thinking while you were mentioning about the empowerment of you want to marry, you use voodoo to get a man, you use voodoo to divorce. I was thinking about this Native American ritual that I heard about, where the way they divorced was they would sit in a circle, and then they'd be doing their drums, and they'd have these sticks, and so the one warrior would throw the stick at all the rest of the guys and go, "Take it, that's my wife." And then all the other warriors would start running back because they didn't want to touch her because
Oh
they were
gosh.
divorced.
Oh my
So yeah,
goodness. Oh
I
my
was just
goodness.
thinking of that when you were saying that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, if you're curious, if anyone who's watching is curious about voodoo,
Mhm.
just look into it. Open your mind and just read up on serious texts written by religious leaders like Sally Ann Glassman is a voodoo priest in New Orleans who has written a book about voodoo, and she's Haitian initiated. There's a place called Voodoo Authentica in New Orleans in the French Quarter. Brandy Kelly is a voodoo priest. They're wonderful people. Just try to find out more about what it is and see if there's someone who's practicing that you can come and join and just learn about what it's about, because it'll blow your mind. I mean, writing the book, it's changed me.
Mhm.
So I encourage anyone to look into it.
How long did it take you guys to research all this and put it together?
We're still researching it. I mean,
Never ends.
For a lifetime. So, we wrote the book over a couple of years, but when I interviewed someone, she said, Rory, take your time with this. Take your time. Take your time. Because there's many voodoo laws or saints as there are, in Greek gods and God. There could be thousands. And so I think we're still kind of, I don't know about you, Mom, but I feel like there's still an unfolding process of learning what voodoo is and how it's practiced and what's different about it and how it can kind of bring us closer to God, I think, and to our own sense of spirituality.
And so much is secret, Charlotte. I mean, because it was founded by people who mainly were illiterate, and they were punished for gathering to pray. Most of it was just passed down by word of mouth. So a lot of different voodoo sects kind of like believe in different things. You can be a Jew and be a voodoo. You can be a Catholic and be a voodoo. You can be a Protestant. It's a kind of a belief system that can include a lot of other beliefs, and that's unusual.
Which I think is incredible. I think it's incredibly expansive. It's not limiting at all. Yeah.
Well, I can understand it. My grandmother came from a background of curandera, so she was doing. I'm not saying stuff like that, but she was chanting and stuff because my mother would tell me stories.
Really?
The stuff my grandmother would do with herbs and all that stuff. So I mean, it's a similar thing, and it's just how. It's like anything else. A group of people get a hold of something, and it branches off to this, and it branches off to that. So then it starts to disappear. It starts to be changed from what it originally was intended to be. And all that changes. So it's understandable. Like over there, I don't even know half the stuff about my grandmother that I think I should know. I mean, there's still stuff I'm finding out.
That's incredible. Yeah.
And her background. Was it hard talking to the voodoo priestesses? Were they open to you? When you went in there to talk to them and ask them about your book and stuff and what you wanted to write?
Yeah, I think that it was very important to be as respectful as possible, and to build trust, with the people I'm talking to, because if the community has really been not treated respectfully, and so I want to make sure, that I think when we're doing our research, and even now when we speak about voodoo, it's only with respect and with honor, and with a lot of admiration, and we really try to do our best to present it as respectfully as we can, and what we've learned, and also, be open and authentic, admit that we don't know, we don't have all the answers about New Orleans voodoo. We have some, but yeah, I think that's really important, just to be authentic and to be honest, and to build the bridges. And if something doesn't want to be shared, like we had an interview and she said, please don't share this. And we said, okay, we'll take it out. Because out of respect to that person, and also to the community.
Understandable. Was there anything, in your research going in, because I know, you try, like a journalist, you try to go in with an open mind, to get the information. But I mean, TV and movies are so inundated with stuff about voodoo. Was there anything in particular when you guys went in and did these interviews that really blew you away and surprised you?
I think that can I say God on this show? Is
Absolutely.
that okay? Okay. So I think that God works in mysterious ways. And there is a saying that you don't find voodoo, voodoo finds you. And so I think that there was something maybe mystical happening that introduced Mom and I. And this was our first book that we wrote together. And we came from I think a little bit different backgrounds, and how we developed our own spirituality. I studied in China, I've kind of studied other world religions too. But I think it was really important to us coming together and then being open. And sometimes when you're scared of something, that's okay. Like for me, I was too scared to do a voodoo reading with a priestess, even though I'd studied it. And but Mom, you did a voodoo reading. Do you want to talk about your first?
It was wonderful. I loved it.
Well,
I had a similar experience to Charlotte with these strange voices. So I asked Charlotte Glassman if she wouldn't mind if I taped this interview. She said, you can, but you may hear strange people that are angry at you. So I said, okay, I don't mind. So I took my pad and I copied down everything she said. And when I went home to play it back, I put it on. It was a very serious interview. All of a sudden, I hear like monkeys screaming. Kind of went on and on. Furious creatures coming at me. Then that went on for like 20 minutes on either side of the tape. Then finally, so I got only half of my tape because they wiped out the rest. So there are certain people, I don't know who they are, evil spirits, ghosts, that don't like you getting this information. They prefer you not having it. That makes me know it's real, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had different experiences where the electronics were, messed with, or text messages
Oh, yeah.
often erased, or the recording didn't work. And once you kind of accept it and get less, at first it's frustrating, but it's like, oh, okay, they don't want me to hear this. They don't want me to connect. They don't want me to share. They just want me to remember. I think that was something that was really important to us to sense. But I think after we read the book, we continued to study it, and I even had a voodoo priestess to the home to remove some negative energy, and that was a pretty powerful experience. Just being able to call a priest and ask her, like, "This is what I saw. This is what I experienced. Please don't think I'm crazy." And she didn't, at all. And just it was so incredible how much lighter the room and like the space felt after all the spiritual prayer and rituals that she did there. So it's wonderful to know that whatever like level your readiness is okay. I didn't do a voodoo reading until after the book. I felt like, okay, I know enough. Like I'm ready. I don't know what the spirits are going to say. I don't know, but I'm just gonna try it out. And since then, I've had readings pretty regularly, and each time they've given me a different message that was so incredible. So
How do they do the readings? Is it like like with a regular psychic? Do they sit across at a table, or how's that work?
well, the readings I did were all on the phone. They were
Okay.
just virtually. So she entered a trance state, and she walked me through. She'd enter trance, and then I could ask a question, and we had a certain amount of time or whatever, and then she said afterwards I'm probably not going to remember anything, and then which, because it's this kind of possession experience, and yeah, and then it was really helpful. Then, Mom, you visited the mystery room in New Orleans at the Healing Center, right?
Yeah, she was there, and sat right across from me, and I had my notebook writing things down. And she didn't look like she was in a trance, but she may have been meditating deeply. And this is one of the key features that Sally Glassman does in her shop. She gives readings, and I think they're really wonderful. If you get my book, I don't know, did we send her, Charlotte, a copy of the book, Roy?
Yes, I love it.
You'll see
Yeah.
my reading in the back. You'll see my reading in the back because it was very useful to me. I learned a lot from it.
Really positive.
I'm so
Yeah.
fascinated by this. I'm really fascinated by this, and the fact that you guys looked into it, because I mean it's not something everybody looks into, and it's an interesting thing. It really is interesting to me to try to understand it more. Where do you think the legends came? When people, like I said, when people think about voodoo, they think about the voodoo dolls, the pins, and all that stuff. I mean, where the hell did all that come from?
Well, I know the voodoo dolls, the voodoo dolls that are authentic are actually like dolls of saints and these different
Okay.
important figures. I can actually grab you a couple of them to see.
There you go.
Show and tell.
These are my altar. So what voodoo dolls look like today, voodoo practitioners are more like this. And so they're made of natural elements like Spanish moss or found objects too. And this one I love is Maman Brigitte. So
Look
what's
it up.
interesting is my first voodoo ritual ceremony, Maman Brigitte came. She was actually one of the people attending. And then when I did a reading 2 years later, Mama Brigitte had been opening the path, and I was like, "What? How did that come out? I didn't know that was happening." I was like, "Oh, and I have a doll here." So there's all these different kind of elements at play. But again, since this religion was illegal and people were oppressed, it's been misunderstood, but they had to really practice in ways that they could keep in secret, and make from things that they had themselves. But I think a big part of voodoo today is taking it out of the shadows and bringing it out into the open and educating the public about, what it is, what it's really about.
Mhm, mhm. Because as you said earlier, there are churches, right? That there are voodoo church, actual voodoo
There
churches
are
Right.
that people can go
congregations.
now.
Yep,
Congregations, yeah.
Are there
Very
churches
cool.
or just places where they congregate?
Okay.
they're voodoo temples. Yep, they're voodoo
Yeah.
temples, and yeah,
And
but
they
it's
do,
very different.
right. And they do worship the saints, right?
They do. And so I think that why I'm so drawn to it, I don't know, maybe I was an oppressed Catholic, but, going into this voodoo temple, it's like, going to St. Louis Cathedral, the
Mm-hmm.
ornamentation, the beauty, the marble, the
Mm-hmm.
angels, the high ceilings, the paintings, the pristine. Voodoo temple is like, you feel really like connected to the earth, and that's part of
Mm-hmm.
it because you want to invite the elements in to the ceremony. But you walk in, it's the voodoo temple I went to in the Bywater, and
Mm-hmm.
it's concrete floors. It's like a turquoise cottage at the end of an alley. There are paintings hanging all over. There are these Haitian drapos, which are tapestries that are
Mm-hmm.
literally when people make them, they sing special prayers. So it's an act of devotion. There are candles, there are altars, offerings. One side of the room was Rada, the other side was Petwo. So there's different like
Hmm.
hot and cold energies that want to be kept separate. There are
Mm-hmm.
pictures of people who've died, offerings to them, and how the priestess explained it was, when you pass and people celebrate your life, they'll want to give you things like if you like chocolate cake, like wouldn't that be great if someone brought chocolate cake? So it's really about like a lot of kindness. And I think for me, the biggest lesson in voodoo is that death is not the end,
Hmm.
that our souls continue and our spirits live on. And I think that voodoo really embraces death
Interesting.
too. We don't voodoo artists don't hide it. It's part of every day.
Mm-hmm. And also, how big of a deal is it in New Orleans? I mean, are there more people that go to the voodoo congregations as opposed, say, to Catholic or any other congregations, or is it about spread out even or less?
It's a Catholic city, so there
Okay.
are a lot of Catholic practitioners, but there are a lot of locals who practice,
Mm-hmm.
in the South and in Louisiana and Mississippi too. But it's not like you can look up Monte de la Rosa Church on Carrollton Avenue and you can look up the Mass Times. It's not as open as that. It's kind of like a person who knows a person does this thing, and you kind of find out because I think that some communities just want to make sure that whoever's
Mm-hmm.
coming is really a safe
Mm-hmm.
person
Mm-hmm.
too.
Are there any types of rituals that you guys witnessed that stand out to you?
Uh, yeah, I can. We did there was a ceremony, and the Loa was a mermaid Loa, and if she came if someone was possessed during the session, the person wouldn't be able to walk. And this
Hmm.
actually happened where someone was possessed by the spirit of this. Now I can't remember her name, but I know she loved her colors are like blue and green, and she loves jewelry. So I brought her barrettes as part of the offering. But the person
Mm-hmm.
had to be wrapped in a sheet and kind of lifted up as part of the possession. That's something and then afterwards we went swimming. Um, but yeah, I think that when in the possession experience, the few I've witnessed, a woman from, I don't know, petite woman from Alabama or something, she became possessed and her voice changed.
Oh
It's
my
a very
no.
Oh.
her stature changed, her facial muscles changed. She started smoking a cigar.
Uh,
Everything she was, I mean, it was like, it's so incredible to me to see like such difference. I mean, I've heard that someone can be possessed and get incredible strength and like spin a man over their head. I didn't see that, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the idea that this happens and the people really change for a period of time in order to receive a message, I think that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty stunning.
That would be incredible to witness.
it would be. You should come here.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to. I'll have to come
Yeah.
to New
Oh,
Orleans.
Yes. And the great thing is that at the ritual, the priest will ask you, "Are you open to possession?" And my father said no. He said, "I'm not open to possession. I'm going to take a seat." He introduced me to voodoo, and that he told me you could be voodoo and you could be Catholic. So I said, "Oh, that's probably great." I don't know if the Catholic Church will say that, but we're like, "Fine, that's great. You could be both." But the prayer, the person says a prayer, shakes a rattle down your back. You give an offering, and then you do a lot of dancing and ritual. But it's not something you're forced to do, and it's not The Exorcist. So again, I want to kind of relieve any fears about it.
And these congregational meetings, what time of day are they? I mean, like I said, there's a lot of misnomers. Oh yeah, they do it late at night. No, this is going on. When do they hold their congregations?
I think it depends on the group. Saturday evenings was one group that goes pretty often. That's just like a regular service. But if there's special holy days, like the Feast of St. John's Eve around June 22nd, 23rd, there's hurricane turning ceremonies where we want to turn the eye of the storm. So there's depending on if it's a special Day of the Dead, if there's different ceremonies, it'll be on those days.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And what types of candles do they burn? The differences in like the Catholic Church will have certain candles that they burn for certain things. What is it with voodoo?
It's all. You'll see like hurricane candles with pictures of like Virgin Mary and different saints. But again, like there's not like rules on what really can a candle when it comes to candles, as far as I know. Yeah.
In Sally's shop, she carries those kind of tube candles, with pictures of various saints on the outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you put together your altar, what do you have in your altar? Can you tell me that?
Sure. Well, the altar is for my altar. It's to people who have died. You can have an altar to the living, but it's really important that you keep them separate. They can't touch, they can't merge, you can't have those items together. That's what a priestess named Janet, who was initiated in Africa, shared with me. So, but mine has, like Mom, it has your parents, my grandma and grandpa, a picture of them on the couch. It has my dog, Greta. And it has some pictures of other people, friends who have passed away, and like prayer cards from their funerals. But then I also have like religious objects, like the Virgin Mary. I have a statue of Queen Marie Laveau, who I consider to be like a saint. And there are other like crosses, things like that. Some candles too, but all just little personal religious pieces. Yeah.
On my altar, which is mainly a mantle in my office, I just have all the statues of saints that I like. St. Peter, St. Anthony, St. Joseph, Our Lady. I have holy water from Lourdes, that shrine in Lourdes, and also here from Louisiana. And that's probably it. Some other pictures, St. Teresa. I think in a way, it's kind of people that you admire, that were great holy people that you almost pray for to give you power, Mary, the Virgin Mary, is a big one in the Voodoo religion. Yeah. And many different poses of her.
Very interesting. If there's one message that you guys want to bring out about voodoo, because like I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there. What would that message be?
Well, I think these are very holy people, mainly women. They're psychic in the sense like you are, Charlotte. I mean, many of them have had death experiences or talk to people or actually see spirits in the room on a daily basis. So they are right to be scared, because most people do not have this power because they have not gone through the path of holiness. Majority of these people have. They've suffered and they've seen a lot.
I think for New Orleans voodoo, I would want people to know that it's a beautiful, positive religion. It welcomes everyone, and just to acknowledge that spirits are around us all the time, and to accept that and accept that death is not the end, and our
Yeah.
spirits live on. Yeah.
Absolutely. How far back does voodoo go in New Orleans?
Hundreds of years, and then other places even longer. But it's all different. I think that when we studied Louisiana hoodoo, it was really about people needing to have a sense of agency and create change for themselves, and use different herbs and different prayers too for protection. I think that's a big part of it. But I think voodoo practitioners are people all over the world are curious. I found that, I think, Mom, you and I would learn that is that, I mean, people in California are interested in voodoo. People in
New
Germany
York.
are
New
interested
York.
in voodoo. People in DC. It's like this curiosity. And I really would just encourage people to just look into it, because there's a lot of beauty and truth there. And maybe there's some fear too, and that's okay. That's totally okay. But I think it's really spreading in popularity, and also it's just coming more to the surface. People are understanding it better, and treating people better about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like it's going through the same evolution that Wicca has gone through. Where people were afraid of Wiccans, and now that has come out, more, more clearly for people, and they're not as afraid of it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so, and I think too that people. Some people I talked to said they had Catholic priests who was okay with them practicing and still receiving communion. So yeah, I think the idea is that even among maybe more strict religious groups, there is some openness and respect for it, especially since the communities that we talk to are doing a lot of good for the world.
That's
I mean, they're washing people's feet, they're washing people's head, they're praying, they're going into haunted houses and removing the evil, the negative
yeah.
spirits.
I do a lot of that. Mm-hmm.
They're doing fundraising. They're trying to help hurricane victims. They're inclusive. They're spreading positive messages. They're teaching morals, even through, the Skeleton Gang, which is sort of affiliated with Voodoo and Mardi Gras, really kind of like teaching children like what to do and what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just reminding people that, death is coming for everyone. And so it's up to us now to live it up, but also live and engage in the world in a respectful way, and that leaves a more positive mark for our people who come after us.
They're very inclusive, and they often have lists, and we have some lists in our book of when you can attend a voodoo ceremony. Some are more complicated than others. I mean, sometimes people rehearse for like 6 or 8 hours these dances and these songs. So when they get there, they're real. I mean, you feel like almost you should be in a choir or something. They really know what they're doing, and it's a performance, and you have to wear a certain outfit. You have to wear like a white outfit. You have to wear, if you're going to be partaking in it, it's going to be more involved. But I have found that, especially Sally Ann Glassman, who does this a lot, is very open to having new people attend, which I think is great.
Absolutely. You mentioned hoodoo a few minutes ago. What is hoodoo?
Well, what we learned about hoodoo was it was in more rural areas in Louisiana. So how it may have evolved is, someone lived really far from a place where there was place they could get medical attention. It was really up to them to take care of themselves. And if that was about prayer, or if it was just about using natural herbs or remedies or whatnot, that was some of the practice. But, when we describe some of activities that people share with us, I'm always really careful, because I don't want to create any judgment, because out of context, that seems like, oh, that's crazy, or that's weird, or like that's dirty. But the reality is, this is a private spiritual practice they've been doing. For people have been doing generations for hundreds of years. But, like in the ceremony we went to, there's no animal sacrifice. But in some original places, that was part of it. But how it was explained to us was that the animal was sacrificed, and then that was dinner for the village for the night. It wasn't something that was just wasted. But you don't have to do that. So congregation we went to, the priestess is vegan, you know. But those are different kind of practices. It's really just about like asking more questions and finding out, well, why do you do that this way, or what did you find that does, and you know, like something else was like the voodoo practitioners are just like just regular people you'd see at Whole Foods, you know.
No, I know, it's amazing.
You know, like a computer programmer. She was at the congregation, like doing like stretches because she's ready to like. I'm like, oh, so she's got a desk job. You know, this person's like a psychology student. You know, so it's yeah, nurses. I think one nurse mom you spoke to was drawn to it because she saw some spirits after they passed in hospitals, right, Mom?
In the rooms of patients who died, you'd see them coming in. Yeah. So,
When you first started running this, you know, and researching this, did you have any trepidation at all? You know, when you first got into it.
Yes. Mom, what about you?
I was afraid to do it because I didn't want to do something, you know, where it's hard to write about something you know nothing about.
Right.
But they were so open to including us and learning. That was pretty amazing, you know?
Yeah. And then also to see the research that's come before us. I mean, there's like hundreds of dissertations, people who've studied this outside of New Orleans, you know, there are the specific, and there's been plenty of texts that have been written about New Orleans voodoo and voodoo in general. And even then, when we did research at the New Orleans Healing Center, you know, they had a picture of Marie Laveau's house. There's all this information really out there and available for people to learn more. Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by it, you know, because I can understand that because I know I was looking into some stuff, for, you know, religion stuff when I was working at the newspaper in Woodland, and you know, there is a trepidation there, you know, when you first start looking into stuff because you hear the stories, you know, and you're wondering, well, is that true? Is that what I'm walking into? So there has to be some, you know, some trepidation going there, but I'm glad they were very open with you.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're lucky, but you know, I think people will be open with other people too. I would just caution people, like who exactly are you talking to, because there is cultural tourism, you know, and so if you were to go to a different place and like try to find out something special about that place, you want to find out like who exactly is giving the tour, what are their credentials, does this really match up with their recent scholarship and what's been published, you know, is this what the leaders of the community are saying? So just I would just be cautious to
Yeah.
And you know, you might find inconsistency, and that's okay, you know, like and that's, I think, Mom and I, we ask a lot of questions. Well, does this mean this, or what about this? One person said this, one person said this, and that's okay, because I think that's where the complexity is and the excitement, when there's not just one answer or one approach. There's many interpretations.
Sure. Well, that's what makes it what it is. I mean, any religion is like that. Just like with what my grandmother was doing, she may do something a certain way, and then another curandero may come along and do it a different way, but it all has the same result. You know, you come to that end result.
Yeah, and I think
there
something else.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just something we also love was the art forms, the voodoo art forms that we study. My background's in visual art, and so looking at the paintings that were created, looking at the ways that altars are put together, looking at the dolls, looking at these beautiful tapestries, you know, just seeing how many incredibly uplifting art pieces people were making as part of their spiritual practice. I think that was something that I didn't really know much about. Even there's something called vivets that the priestess pinches cornmeal onto the ground during a ceremony, and it's a deity's calling card. So it's like different symbols, like almost like a Chinese histograph, or you know, and how those are almost like Buddhist sand art or Navajo sand paintings. There at the end, they're just swept up and swept away. And so there's this real sense of like non-attachment and like living in the moment and being open to whatever the spirit, God, or the saints want the priest to draw at that moment, what that message is. So.
Absolutely fascinating. I loved your book. I mean, your book is great. If you guys want to get a good book, that's the book to get.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like it.
Very awesome. And I take my hat off to you for even going in to research it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I know we're still, I'll hold the book up. We're still really curious about voodoo too. You know, we, we still are learning and engaging and connecting because there's so much more to learn. You know.
Mm-hmm. If you came out along that line, if you came out with one valuable lesson from writing this book, what would that be?
I think that let me see. Well, part of it is that for me, it was writing with my mom.
Oh,
So that was a really that was a big part of this experience. Was my mom has written so much, and this was my second book, and learning when you're in a relationship, mother daughter, and a collaboration. You know how important that is. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I
mom
wanted to be with her because we were living in different places. I said, whatever you want to write, I'll do it with you just to be with you.
Yeah.
That's just marvelous when you can share that creativity together, you know.
Yeah.
It
Completely.
is marvelous. The technology, to allow us to. This is like right here. You're in New Orleans. You're in
I
California,
know.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm in
So,
Scottsdale, Arizona. Yep.
okay. See. All right. Well, you're in New Orleans. I'm in California. You're in Arizona.
That's
What's
fabulous.
fantastic? This is like some of the sci-fi movies.
And we're all
There's
doing the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're all doing the same thing here.
Yeah.
What do you think? As you like you say, you're still learning about voodoo. Are people, are you still making phone calls and trying to talk to people about it? To increase, maybe do a second volume of this, or are people coming to you with information that you probably didn't know before?
We're still interested. So right now we're writing a book about ghosts in New Orleans,
Right.
and so we've been interviewing different people about their ghost experience because I tell people like I'm open. I believe in a lot of stuff, and you kind of just open yourself up and mention that to someone, and someone says, "Me too." Like I saw a ghost once. I'm like, "Oh, really? Tell me about your experience. I'll tell you about my experience." And so I think that voodoo has kind of opened us up to like talk about to demystify death and talk about saints and things like that and what happens and ghostly encounters. But we're interviewing voodoo priestess and she says, my work is with spirits, not with ghosts. And so now that we're starting to explore that and Charlotte, you probably know more than I do about this. So there's different kinds of ghosts and different types of spirits. And that to me, I think like what I'm learning now is that, oh wow, I just called it this all one thing. Like actually there's different types of spirits and ghosts and demons and creatures. So that's really curious.
Did you find that when you started attending these meetings, for your book, when you were going to these congregational meetings, that maybe you were open to more paranormal stuff happening?
Well, I think you have to be open to it because it is like attending someone walking on a tightrope and saying, "Oh, this is an ordinary." It's not ordinary for somebody up there walking on a tightrope. It's not ordinary for all these impassioned experiences of them dancing and screaming and call. It's not ordinary. So you automatically know when you go to a service, you're entering into a new level of prayer or worship or understanding. And that is so non-American. It's so non-corporate. It's so free.
Yes.
A lot of the time, I think, like in meetings like that, or even like when we talked earlier today, and I was talking about the first meetings I had with the other paranormal group, I think the ghosts, or the spirits rather, are curious as to who you are and why you're there. And I think that's sometimes why we end up getting hitchhikers coming home with us, because they're trying to figure out who we are. And that's why I said, after 2 or 3 days, they realize I don't care about this person, and they're gone. Again.
That's hilarious.
But they're trying to check you out. Did you find, after you went to these meetings, that you might have had a hitchhiker or two that would come home with you to check you out, and then they left?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
it's all good.
Yes.
It happens to the best.
What happened?
I don't know if I'm ready to share about it, but yeah, I mean, I think that, you do and that's, it's like, do we keep writing about this and keep finding, are we sure we're ready? Or should I just like study art? I can just study some artists, write some biographies, and that's fine. I'm not going to have vivid dreams or dead people visiting me in my dreams. Like, you know, like that probably won't happen as much about folks as something else. But you know, I had some experiences when I was younger and I turned it off because I was like, this is too freaky. I can't handle this. No. And I turned it off. And then studying voodoo, I was like, actually, I want to learn. I want to learn, even though it's a little terrifying. It's hard to sleep sometimes. I still want to learn. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing, right, Mom? With just being open to
I
learn.
think I want to bring God to the world. I want people to believe in God and believe in a life after death and have hope. I really do.
Right.
So that's my mission. I'm sure that's yours and Charlotte's as well. So there are evil things along the path, but that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of light, and then
Yes.
we
Right.
can't control that. Mhm.
Right. Right. But it is unnerving. I understand where Rory's coming from. You know, it is
I
unnerving
do too.
when you're sitting there in your living room and you feel a finger go down your arm or something like
It's,
that. You know,
it's
or someone
terrifying.
taps you or grabs your hand. It's terrifying because you don't know what it is and where it came from. You
Yeah.
know, but that's what happens. I mean, you know, you open your, and that's sad to say that, but you open yourself up to, like a new religion like that. You know, you're wide open because you're astounded at what they're doing, and you don't realize, you know, that other things can come through.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, too, is like, don't you want to learn?
Hmm.
Like, don't you want to kind of see? Like, when I was at the Chelsea Hotel in New York a couple weeks ago, I walked in and you could just kind of feel it was a haunted space, you know?
Right.
And I thought, I was like, oh, I want to be here, but I don't want to be here, but I want to be here, you know? So your like rational mind is wanting to step out and leave and like just
Right.
be like ignorant or just be protected or just not know. But then, you know, when you hear a recording of a screaming ghost from the vents,
Mm.
you know, it's like, oh my God, okay, maybe I want to learn a little more. Or when you ask about what's up with the ghost in the elevator and someone's face turns pale, it's like, okay,
Right.
I think I asked the right question. You know, when you ask, have you ever seen anything? Well, no, but 2 bottles of wine were bashed in the room and we've watched the videos and there's no evidence of the staff going in.
Mm.
And so it's like you go to this rabbit hole, like there's more and more you find, and they might seem like little things, like oh, I
Right.
took some pictures and they're all blurry,
Oh
or
yes.
it looks
Yes.
like there's a face in the background behind me,
Right.
or you know, it's like that's one more thing, it's one more piece of evidence, and I feel like ghosts are not fiction. This is nonfiction. This is like really happening, you know. And so I want to learn more, even though it scares me, you know.
Even the ghost hunters that have been doing this for a while have their moments. I remember we did this haunted theater in Vacaville, and I knew all the stories about where the ghosts were and all this. And I make it a habit. I don't like to use the restrooms in haunted buildings
Okay.
because, like in the real old buildings, the piping way underneath the buildings is still the original piping,
Mm.
as
Yeah.
opposed to like maybe 10 feet down, right? So you're gonna get activity because that's why a lot of those I think a lot of those buildings have activity in the bathrooms. So in this particular building, not knowing anything about their bathrooms, everybody decided to go on a dinner break,
Mm.
and somebody had to stay there to watch the door because of course it was unlocked. And I said, I'll do it, no problem. So I'm in the lobby and I'm thinking about all the ghost stories. You know, I'm in there alone, and so all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, I'm starting to peer around myself because I'm starting to spook myself out. So I go into the restroom in this theater, and as I'm sitting down, all the lights pop on,
Mm.
Mm.
and you could hear the scream out on the street.
Mm.
Mm.
So some guy came in off the street to see if I was okay. And
Mm.
what I didn't realize was that these lights were on they were on motion sensors. But I had myself so psyched up, going in there thinking about the
Mm.
ghost. Yeah.
Oh my
But like
God.
it was loud enough. I don't scream. I'm not a screamer. I do not
Yeah.
scream except that day. And this guy came in off the street wondering if I was okay.
Mm.
It was that loud when those lights came on. So I mean, it even
Mm.
happens to us. When
Yeah.
when we're doing stuff, 'cause it could be spooky. What about
Yeah.
you, Mom? Did you have any experiences?
My worst experience was that this was in New Orleans, after my next door neighbor died. She was Italian, very devout
Mm-hmm.
Italian. And I was sleeping on my sofa, and the front door of I lived in a old 150-year-old Creole house. and the front door slammed open. I felt this whisk of air come over me sitting on the sofa over my back and out the back door. And when I went to the back door, there was a pressed, she pushed the door open and there was burnt dust or chalk on the door in the shape of a hand. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Wow.
It's like she had come through the house
Mhm.
and pushed the door open and then she was gone. I
Wow.
didn't see her. All I did was see the burnt marks on the door from her hand. Wasn't that strange?
That's incredible.
So I know that that house was very possessed, but I also know, well, I know she was still alive after death because I just got back from a funeral.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
So that's all I can tell you. That's some.
There's so many strange stories out there. In New Orleans, I would
Oh
love
my
to get to New Orleans to investigate that stuff out there because there's so much out there.
You
So much
love it.
history.
Great.
There was a person who ordained the priestess who's from Haiti, and he used to come to New Orleans, but he said he didn't like coming because there was too many spirits. I said, well,
Wow.
it's scaring a voodoo priest, then there's a lot
Yeah,
of
there's a
activity.
lot going on out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I've
I
heard
can't
that
even.
the certain parts of the world are more active, right? Is that right?
Right.
There's
Right. Yeah, there's areas that are more active than others. And considering all the history there, especially with voodoo, and all that going on, yeah, there's going to be a lot of conjuring going on there, And
Mm.
I can't even imagine. I would love to do it. Is to walk through the cemeteries.
Good luck.
yeah, be
You know.
careful.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
some
it.
I
of the
mean,
cemeteries you have to actually have like an archdiocese membership to show that you have a deceased relative because so many people are going to the cemeteries
hmm
and defacing. People would take parts of people's graves.
I don't understand people.
Yeah,
I don't get it when they do the stuff like that.
but
I
the
just don't.
cemeteries are beautiful. The raised. Mom, will you tell us about the crypts in New Orleans? What the history is? Because I know
Yes,
you
please
research.
do.
Oh, you don't know anything about that? All the
No.
tombs are like little cement houses. They're raised above the ground because the ground's so wet here that a regular
hmm
tomb, if it falls in the ground, would pop back up. In a hurricane, all the tombs be coming out, all the caskets be coming out of the ground. So they have to be in little houses. So if you drive by a cemetery, it looks very strange. You see all these little cement houses, some with angels, some with crucifixes, some with women crying, some with children trying to get out the box. I mean, they're very theatrical, and
hmm
that's the kind of tunes we have in New Orleans.
Wow. That's absolutely incredible. See, I gotta get out there. I gotta get to
You
New
would
Orleans.
like it. So yeah, you would like it because it's extremely unusual.
See, now I got you out there. Raphael's out there, right? I can just my friends. They're everywhere now.
Yes.
Ladies, it has been fun. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
coming
much,
on.
Charlotte.
I so appreciate it. It's been
Oh
great
my
talking
goodness.
with you guys. I
Thank
haven't
you so
talked to you in a
much. We
while.
loved
I
it.
just love it. Yeah, it was great. Is there
Yeah.
anything
Love.
coming up that you would like people to know about?
Hmm.
Mom, what's happening? Any updates you want to share?
No, the big. I can't think of anything offhand other than that the big voodoo thing, but that was June 23rd, so that's past.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I would just go check out the New Orleans Healing Center. Go check out Voodoo Authentica. Go check out the Voodoo Spiritual Temple in New Orleans. They're great
Mhm.
communities. Great way to just learn more and find other like-minded people.
Okay, cool. How can people? God, I can't work it. Must be Friday night. How can people find you?
New Orleans Voodoo. It's on Amazon, and
Okay.
there's I think ebooks available too, and it's on Arcadia Publishing, local bookstores, Barnes and Noble, things
Barnes
like
and
that.
Noble, yeah, a cultural history of voodoo, yeah.
Okay.
Walgreens, CVS.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well,
Thank
I
you.
thank you two for coming on.
Thank you.
You have a
Thank you
great
for your
rest of your
wisdom.
evening.
You too. Can't wait to talk to you again soon. Thank you, Charlotte. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you,
ladies.
Shaw, for all you
Thank you.
do for your protection.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
Bye.
so much. If you need to talk again, I can. I'm always here. Going anywhere. All right, bye, ladies. Have a great one.
We'll come back.
All
Bye.
right, sounds good. Bye bye. Okay, well, that was a great interview. I love talking with them. They're so fun to talk to. So Monday we are going to have Diane Merger Moore on, and she had a case that she had covered as an attorney, I believe as an attorney, where there was circumstantial evidence in a missing child case, and they were able to um, get a conviction. So she's going to be coming on to talk about that case on Monday. And of course, Sunday I'll be back at 6 p.m. Pacific to read from Bram Stoker's Dracula. So we got a full weekend ahead of us. And like I said, I'll probably be going off the air show, give you a nice report from the air show, might even shoot some video and things like that. So there's a lot going on this weekend, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend. But I will see you guys again on Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific. And if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We're always equal opportunity here at California Haunts Radio. Okay? All right, I will see you guys on Sunday and 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a great one.